The NFL Combine was last week. A couple players did not participate, but there was a lot of guys that lit it up. Who are a few players that stood out to you last week, Colt?
The edge rusher from Texas A&M, Shemar Stewart, right, kind of entered this draft as like maybe a first rounder, maybe a second rounder. He had a great combine. I don't know how much stock we want to put in the combine, but from an athletic standpoint, I think he really did himself some favors. Ran a sub 4.6 40. All his measurables were good, and I watched him play a couple times this year. I think he's strong. I think he's physical, but didn't know he was that fast. And I know you watched him too a little bit, Justin, but it looked like he had a really solid performance at the combine.
Yeah, and one of the coaches came out, and then could be coach talk. He mentioned, he's like, our scheme is really more to like push the pocket. We're not trying to unleash our pass rusher. So this guy's going to be even better at the next level. I don't know how much stock I'm buying in that one, but he's a stud. He can get after the quarterback. And then when you see a guy 6'6", 260 pounds running those numbers, running sub 4.6s, that's a scary guy that's going to raise a lot of, have a lot of eyeballs on him. AQ.
Yeah, so whenever I watched him on film, he jumped off the tape because I was watching Will Campbell tackle from LSU. And everybody was like hyping him up like 3/4 of the way through the season. Oh, he's going to be the best O-lineman in the draft. And then I watched him play against Stewart, and I was like, I don't know if this guy's the guy. So showing this guy run sub 4.6 and his freakish ability makes me feel a little bit better about what I watched from Will Campbell. Because when I watched him, he struggled a little bit against him, struggled against the Bulls, struggled against some things where I was like, I had Kelvin Banks ahead of Will Campbell because of the game watching him against Stewart.
And the crazy thing is, man, he jumped a 40-inch vertical and had a 10-foot, 11-inch broad jump. Like that is next level athleticism. So you're right. That puts him right in that category.
This brings up the point about the combine, right? We're talking about him being like a first round pick, like a lock, right? An physical freak. He only had 4.5 sacks last year. You got to value like, okay, his numbers were off the charts at the combine, but when you turn the tape on, he had 65 tackles and less than 5 sacks. It's like, but he's going to be a lock first rounder. He's getting compared to Myles Garrett. That's the hard part about the combine, right?
The most important thing about this kid is his ability to run and his size and his length. Coaches will think they can coach some pass rush moves and all that stuff. But this day and age in pro football with the Jaden Daniels, the Jalen Hurts, these Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, these running quarterbacks, you have to have some length and some athleticism to track these guys down. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day for your defense. So they may give up a little bit in the true pass rush technique part of it, but let me get a guy with some size, strength, and the guys that can run down some of these athletic quarterbacks and get my hands up and bat some balls down.
Typical coach. He's like, just give me some raw and I'll coach him up. I don't need any football talent. Just give me sheer athleticism and I'll make it work.
Well, the days, the great pass rushers like the Myles, you can't compare this guy to Myles Garrett out of college was a hell of a pass rusher. Now he had the moves, he had the length, he had the bend, he had it all. This guy doesn't have it all yet, but you are banking on some of the attributes that can help him be a better pass rusher, but a more athletic run stopper, get the quarterback type guy, stunt guy, TEET stunts with the length and the size. So yeah, there's a lot of attributes he has, but to find a guy that rushes like Myles Garrett, good luck. You ain't going to find one for another 4 or 5 years.
There was a 5-year period where we sat here and said Jadeveon Clowney was maybe the most disruptive player in the National Football League. And he maybe got you, 3 or 4 sacks a year, but
Exactly.
He just made splash plays and freakish plays. So listen, I understand stats are a major stat, and every pass rusher in the world will say stats are a major, major stat. But there's also something to be said about disruptive play, right? There's also something to be said about bull rushing a guy into the lap of the quarterback and causing an interception, or, making all these different plays with all the attributes that he can, take to the field and make all these disruptive plays.
What about a guy that might have character issues? James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. Everyone's talking about the off the field stuff. He went out there and ran a 4.47, had the 1.56 split, 31-inch vertical, big broad jump. The numbers look good, but when you have a guy that can run that fast at that size and speed, how much do character and off the field issues come into play? Jay, I'll give it to you because I'm sure you've had to deal with that as a coach.
Yeah, it depends a lot on the person and what happened with them. And truly, if he's remorseful, I mean, everybody's had some type of characteristic issue in their history of their life, except for you, Justin. Colt's pretty perfect.
I was going to say, don't.
Yeah, not you, Justin. Colt is perfect, but most of the guys have had some kind of issues, but it just depends. We can go through every player in the history of the NFL, and they had some kind of asterisk by their name why you should not draft them. But if he's a genuine kid, he's remorseful, he's cares about football, he's a team guy, I think you can work past some of the negative things in their life, and maybe he's worth taking a shot because he's big and fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. You're on a 4-4-7 and you're playing defensive end or edge rusher. There's a team that's going to take a chance on him.
Nobody's perfect, Justin. Nobody's perfect.
Don't shoot the messenger. I just got to ask the question sometimes. AQ, anyone that stood out to you during the combine?
Yeah, I got two guys. I got one guy who was obviously highly touted coming into this combine. I got another guy who was a little bit kind of under the radar. The first guy is Membou, the offensive tackle from Missouri. 6'4", 322, ton of hype coming into it. A lot of people have him as the number one offensive lineman. What did he do? He went out and ran a 4.9, 4.40. Like, when you have a guy that jumps off the tape and he's already ranked high, and then he goes and backs it up and justifies exactly what you're seeing on tape about what he's showing athletically on the combine, then it's like, okay, this is the guy. We don't look at 40-yard dashes. I'm not sitting here saying that this 4.94 means anything, but it does mean he's a freak athlete at the end of the day, and he's a damn good football player already. Another thing that we look at as offensive linemen is the 10-yard split. We look at, obviously, the 20-yard shuttle. Our guy Josh Norris talks about the 4.47 20-yard shuttle and how it shows how much success you can have as an offensive lineman. There was no guys that did that this year in the draft. I was one of them. I just got to say that, Jay. I was a 4.4 guy. No big deal.
That's good. That's impressive.
Thanks. There was no guys that did it. Jason Kelsey ran a 4.14, which is pretty insane when you think about it in the 20-yard shuttle. But getting back to the 10-yard split, there's a guy, Josh Gray. This is a little plug for myself because I trained him this offseason. Josh Gray from Oregon State, fastest 10-yard split, 1.70, and has started 4 positions, both tackles, both guards at Oregon State, moving into center. I think he improved his stock a little bit.
All right, AQ, is it something in the water? How'd you get him running that quick?
I didn't do a damn thing for that. But I did teach him how to put a ball between his legs and move right and left. I can't take any credit for what I did on the 10-yard split.
AQ, you mentioned it. I'm going to come right back to you on it. And then, Colt, I'm going to go to you. When you look at some of these offensive linemen and you're looking at height, weight, you mentioned you don't look at 40. Is there anything with offensive line that you're looking at? Is it arm length? Is it bench reps? Is there anything that you can take out of the combine for an O-lineman?
I'm sure there is. But at the end of the day, like I said it last week, I think the combine means nothing for offensive linemen. I think at the end of the day, there's been guys that have run 6 flat 40s that have ended up starting a bunch of games. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what happens when you get punched in the mouth. What happens when you put the pads on? I've watched so many guys in OTAs. I've watched so many guys be combine warriors. I think the biggest thing you take away from the combine for offensive linemen is the medical. It's the interviews. It's getting in front of the guy and seeing how they can diagnose and draw plays and think on their feet. And you tell them to draw their favorite play, and then you give them a quick two play install and see how quick they can spit it back to you. And, then you're like, okay, the free safety's walking down weak. What are you doing? Like, I think there's so many things you can, when you get a guy in person, from the interview process and the medical stuff, I think that part of it's huge. But I think all this stuff is just kind of proving what kind of athlete you are. But again, I played with some shitty athletes that are damn good football players.
No, for sure. All right, let's start talking about some skill players. Jay, I know you had your eyes on a couple of the skill guys. Who stood out to you this past week?
From a receiver standpoint, I know Colt's going to talk about his boy from Texas, but I like Luther Burden III from Missouri. This guy ran 4.41. His production level kind of dropped the last 3 years. He had really good years, sophomore year, not bad junior. Senior kind of dropped off. They had quarterback issues. They ran the ball a lot. Their offense was not really set up for a receiver to have a lot of big numbers. But this guy is really good after the catch. I think he can play inside and outside. He's a physical cat. He snatches a ball. I think he can be a guy like a Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, some of those guys in the middle that can really do some damage and help a team. I think late in the first round, this guy's going to get taken and snatched up by a really good team with a really good quarterback and have an unbelievable year, because after the catch, he's really dynamic with the ball in his hands on the jet sweeps and all that. So I did like him. And then we'll talk about the running back room in a minute, but the running back room is clogged up pretty good. Some guys stood out that you never really heard of. Some guys just verified their times and showed what type of player they are based on the film. So they're going to get drafted. But I am very excited to see where these running backs get drafted, because there's a lot of them. And teams may say, you know what? I'm not going to take one in the first or second. I'm waiting the third or fourth round and get this guy, or this guy. They should fall. So it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up.
And there's not a great free agency class for running backs this offseason. I know James Cook was tweeting out he wants $15 million a year. Maybe the Buffalo Bills are a team that a guy like that could fall to, or Kansas City Chiefs. Receivers now. We had some guys from Texas talking about running 4.1s. We had a guy get into the 4.29s. Golden. How are we feeling about the receiver room right now?
I know Matthew Golden's getting a lot of buzz, as he should. I mean, I had no idea he could run a 4.29. I've watched this guy since he was at Houston. Then he transfers to Texas, and he has a monster year. He led the SEC with 9 touchdown receptions and really was an X factor for the Texas offense. He's smooth, right? He catches the ball with his hands. You turn on the tape of this guy and you're like, man, this is a true X receiver. He can run all the routes, great out of transition. Ball never gets into his body, and just made a ton of big plays throughout the year. But then he goes out there and runs a 4.29. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. And he looks powerful. And my 2 favorite players on Texas football team last year was Matthew Golden and it was DeAndre Moore. They're just dependable guys. If you pause the tape every time you're watching a player, you're breaking down another player, like they're open. They're finishing their routes. They're putting good stuff on tape. I just think he went from being maybe like an in the first round, second round guy to possibly being drafted in the first round. For me, these combine performances, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. But when you're talking about an X receiver and you're looking at their measurables, their size, he's 6 foot, he's just under 200 pounds, and he runs a 4.29, and then you take that back and you watch the tape, that stuff kind of adds up for me. And so I thought he had himself a day and really did himself a lot of favors.
One of the questions, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, is we had some guys not participate. Shador Sanders, Cam Ward, a couple of the quarterbacks, and I want to talk about the quarterbacks as a whole. Jay, when a guy doesn't throw at the combine or isn't participating, obviously we get the off the field stuff. Does that raise any red flags for you?
Not really, as long as they throw in their pro day. And their pro day should be pretty big. They'll have a lot of receivers there. They'll hit a good route tree. They'll have a coach with them. They'll have a good get them outside the pocket, quick game, drop back, whatever it might be. So they'll have a good arsenal of throws at his pro day, but you would like him to compete against the other guys. Most competitors like Colt would love to line up and throw against anybody in the world next to him. Boom, boom,
no
boom.
doubt.
You would like to see that competitive nature. I don't understand why they don't throw. Both of them have good arms. Both of them are accurate. I don't know what could possibly go wrong by them throwing a slant route, an out route, a go ball, and a corner route. I mean, what the hell? It's not that hard, right? But they will throw the ball at the pro day, so it's not the end of the world.
Great Q. Anyone else pop out?
So I got a question, right? I'm seeing a lot of things about Will Howard, right? Will Howard wins a national championship. Everybody loves Will Howard going into this combine.
This is a great conversation to have right here. Keep going.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Will Howard didn't complete a single pass in this combine. I mean, every single ball was terrible. It was behind, it was overthrow, it was underthrow. It did not look good. So I guess that's the question, Jay, right? Like, can you take a lot from that because he's not throwing with his own receivers? Can you take a lot from the fact that he just looked completely out of rhythm from that?
Well, he shouldn't miss that many. Yeah, he had a rough day, that's for sure. Milroe had a rough day as well. So, yeah, there's some merit in that. I'll probably hurt him a little bit. You're right. Will he improve at his pro day? I'm sure his pro day will be a lot better. He'll be in a more comfortable setting. Every time he got the ball, the fans were chirping at him. He's lining up a different guy. Can't really make excuses for him because at the end of the day, these are slant routes, these are out routes, these are dig routes or curl routes, and they're go balls, things that he's been throwing his whole career. So probably just a little nervous, but his pro day will help him a little bit. Combine does have a opportunity to knock you down a few rounds. Now that's just the way it is, but it has a ability to knock you up a few rounds, like this running back for Virginia Tech, like a couple of the receivers that we mentioned. They're going to go from mid-second to late first. Some guys will go from late first to mid-third. It's just the way it is. That's why they have the combine.
Jay, do you want to try to say the Virginia Tech running back's name?
Bashul
Tootin. There we go. My agent reps him. He said he didn't do all the short shuttle and all those different things either. He said at his pro day, he's going to light those numbers up even more. And he already was number one in every running back category. So I think he's a guy that's going to even, after pro day, and he hit some of those short shuttles and 3-cone, he'll be even higher on boards.
Like you guys mentioned, at the end of the day, it is shorts. It's just a way for coaches to get another look at it. But you're going to go back and look at Will Howard's film now. He won a national championship. He won a lot of big games, made a lot of big throws, used his legs, tough son of a gun, smart son of a gun. Nobody thought that he was going to go higher than a third or fourth rounder anyway, I don't think. And I still think somebody will take a chance on him because of his ability to win football games at a very high level. So, yeah, there's a lot of merit that you have to take into that.
I'm a big fan of Will Howard. Look, he's 6'4", 236 pounds. I mean, I know he missed a bunch of throws, but I mean, the fact that he went out there and competed, I'm not making excuses for him. You should hit a slant route no matter if AQ Shipley's running it or Xavier Worthy's running it. Like, that doesn't matter, right?
I don't like quarterbacks that wear muscle shirts either. Why is he wearing a muscle shirt? or a regular T-shirt?
I don't understand. But when you look at Will's career, right? He had a great career at Kansas State. He made the transition. He learned Chip Kelly's offense. He took Ohio State to a national championship, won it. Made a big jump there. When you watch his tape, the thing that was always a question mark was his deep ball, right? Enough trajectory, enough arc on the football, put it on the money. But then you go back and you watch the tape at Ohio State throughout the year, he got better and better and better as that went on. That was sort of his knock. And so I don't put a whole lot of stock in what happened at the combine. I know, he missed some throws, but I think his intangibles, his leadership, his size, like there's a place, his athletic ability, that there's a place for him in the NFL. When he gets to a good team, he kind of can sit and learn an offense. Like I think he's a guy who's going to have a real nice career in the NFL, and I don't put a whole lot of stock in what happened at the combine. I think he was awesome this year, right? Eliminated a lot of his turnovers, won a national championship. He ripped it multiple times this year into tight windows, made big time throws. I'm still high on Will Howard.
And look, Chip Kelly just got the job out there in Las Vegas with the Raiders, maybe third, fourth round, where he's kind of projected right now. Maybe there's a chance he could sneak into one of those picks because the Raiders right now are actively trying to move up and take one of those quarterbacks high. And if you don't, maybe a guy like Will Howard who knows the system can come in. He might not be your answer long term. You could probably still go out and try to get a Sam Darnold, but add a Will Howard in and have that guy that's comfortable with that system running it.
Clean Pocket is sponsored by BetterHelp. Think about your favorite leaders, mentors, and idols. They don't have all the answers, but they do know when to ask questions or seek support from their community. I can remember back in 2008, I was coaching with my brother for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He got fired. I got fired. Then while I was working with the Arena League as a head coach, the Arena League folded. So not only did I get fired from my brother's job in Tampa Bay, the Arena League, who I worked for and played for, also folded. So I had to rely on family and other people that I grew up with just to talk to and have some support and try to figure out my next move with two young children. It's very important to have a support group, tight family people, friends that know you and what you like and also what you need to do moving forward and have the confidence in your abilities as well. So it's a very difficult situation you can run into, but having help other than yourself trying to figure it out or somebody you can talk to and help along the way is very, very important. BetterHelp can be that support system for you. BetterHelp is a fully online therapy service that serves over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credited therapists with a wide range of specialties. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/pocket today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pocket.
Anyone else that you want to highlight that we haven't thus far?
I think both running backs from Ohio State did a pretty good job. Henderson and Judkins. You know, Judkins was more of a first, second down back, a big guy, but that son of a gun ran faster than Henderson, who's more of a third down back. Those guys did a great job of coming in and out and spelling one another. So I think both those guys up their stock. It depends on what type of back you want as far as a talent evaluator. Do you want the big physical 225-pound guy? Or do you want the little faster guy like Henderson? And there's a lot of guys like that you're going to have to separate in this draft for the running backs. You got Ollie Gordon, he's a huge guy. You got Jaden Blue from Texas, who's a shorter guy. You got Hampton from North Carolina. Obviously, you got Genty. He's going to be the number one guy. Scattaboo, what do you do with him? He's one of my favorite guys in the draft. 39-inch vertical. I'm done for the day, boys. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting how this plays out with the draft. I can't wait to dive in and watch a lot of tape on these cats, but there's some good, interesting prospects at the running back position.
I'll go defense for you, Colt. Abdul Carter has that foot injury where he potentially has to get surgery. He may opt to not get the surgery, obviously did not participate. When you have a guy potentially going number one overall, but having that Micah Parsons comparison, generational pass rusher, and you see an injury like a foot injury with one of those guys, how does that make you feel?
I don't know, but I know I called a couple of Penn State's games this year, and he's a game wrecker. That's what he is, right? He wore number 11, just like Navarro Bowman, just like Micah Parsons. Just like all the stars that AQ's over there shaking his head.
Oh, hell yeah. He's got a shirt on too right now.
Yeah. But I mean, he has a relentless motor. That's what you use that word all the time. He'll chase down zone reads from the backside all the way to the sideline, and he'll just like slowly walk back to the huddle. This is third, fourth quarter, and the next play he gets a sack. Like the dude just doesn't, like he has no stop. And when you're that athletic, you're that talented, and you combine that with just that relentless, sort of energy and motor. I love watching him play.
But add in the broken foot though. Would you have gotten the surgery, Q? Like, would you have just said, hey, it's an 8-week surgery. Let me just get it done, put the screw in. I'll be 100% by the season. Or would you try to push through and try to do a pro day for what?
I think a lot of times, what happens with these guys, because I watched it a little bit with my guy Ryan Jensen, is like you'll go to so many doctors until somebody tells you that I don't want to do surgery, right? And then it's like, okay, I don't have to do surgery. And a lot of times that doesn't work out, but it's like, listen, like, you got 8-week surgery, go get the thing done. But this doctor says he doesn't need it. We'll see what happens. I mean, listen, if he's going to do his pro day, he's going to do his pro day. If he's not, like, he obviously feels good about it, but it's like, it scares you a little bit. It has to scare you. But just like Colt said, I mean, his tape is freakish. I saw him in person at the Fiesta Bowl, and I was like, holy hell, this guy is a pro. Like, just standing next to him, looking at him, I'd be hard-pressed to not mention LeVar Arrington, Colt. You didn't mention LeVar.
I missed LeVar Arrington. Who else am I missing? LeVar Arrington.
LeVar's the best 11 ever at Penn State, hands down.
Yeah,
hands
no
down.
doubt.
Now his son's there.
Really?
Wearing number 11.
Well, there you go. That's probably part of the pitch.
Isn't it always a risk to put a screw in your body anywhere? I mean, I know that the technology and these doctors are great at what they do, but when you start putting a screw in a foot of a pass rusher, aren't you a little concerned? Would you rather not have it done than have that done and have that thing in your foot? I got one on my ankle, I got screws and cadavers all over my body. I don't like any of them. I can't rush a passer like Abdul Carter, though, but I promise you this. Before I had them, I could do a little bit better than after I had them. That's for sure.
I think surgery's gotten a little bit better than when you were playing, Jay. Just a smidge.
Let's hope so, Justin, because I wouldn't want to draft him at the number 1 pick if it was the same type of surgery.
If a doctor tells me you can go have surgery or you don't have to have surgery, you can heal it, I'm always opting for not having surgery.
Me too.
That's what I'm saying. Just put a screw in your foot. You'll be fine in 8 weeks. What the hell? Bullshit. You got a screw in your foot.
I agree, but if there's 8 doctors saying get the surgery and 1 doctor saying no, don't get the surgery, and then now we got to weigh that option, right?
Maybe the 8 doctors just want money in their pocket. They want the insurance bill. They want the rehab money. And this one doctor says, you know what? I don't need to do surgery. I don't need the extra $25,000 to put a screw in your foot. There's a lot of medical fraud going on in this world, AQ.
Speak, Jay. Let's go.
I got a doctor's appointment at 2:00. I mean, Jesus. Ryan Manelli.
Jay, are you throwing your hat into the ring to be the Secretary of Medicine with RFK Jr.?
Yeah, maybe I could use a help. But yeah, no, I think this guy's a freak. But does it have an impact on the first overall pick? Let's say you're the Tennessee Titans and you're out of the quarterback market. You have a chance to get Travis Hunter, who's 100% healthy, who could help your receiver room and your cornerback room, or you take a guy like Abdul Carter, who's got a screw in his foot. They're both going to be unbelievable pros. But it could have an impact on the number 1 overall. He's still going to go top 5. There's no doubt about it. But it could have an impact on the number 1 overall pick. That's all.
Spice up your sports viewing experience with the Underdog app. Underdog is the best place to play. Pick 'em on all of your favorite sports. Just choose higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, and you can join the millions of fans who have won billions of dollars on Underdog. What are you waiting for? Sign up now using promo code POCKET. That's POCKET, and you can get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.